Our team at Rocky Mountain Sasquatch organization, we spend several weeks a year hiking the coastal trail along Northern California and the Oregon coast. The Bigfoot sightings that come out of these areas are what motivate us to come and hike these trails and look to see if we can find Bigfoot or Bigfoot evidence ourselves. This is a face-to-face encounter at dusk along the Pacific Coast Trail near Brookings, Oregon. Here is the report that was submitted. It happened on September 15th in 2012. I took a 3-day vacation beginning on September the 14th, 2012 from northern Nevada to southern coast of Oregon. I take professional photos for a website I operate and was hoping to get in some great scenic shots before it got cold and the lousy rest of the year. My fiance and I were on a hike about 6 or 8 miles above Brookings, Oregon, in Curry County. We were on a hiking trail in a densely wooded area, following a trail called the Loop Trail. This trail is about a quarter of a mile past the area called Natural Bridges Viewpoint. We had gone down the trail without incident, although it was getting dark, and I felt as though we needed to hurry back, to get back, even though there was no reason to. It was just a feeling like the hairs on the back of my neck started to stand up. I can't quite explain it. I just suddenly felt uncomfortable. We did not see any other hikers while we were on our way back up the trail or the way down. We stopped walking when we heard some loud snaps in the forest around us, like something was breaking tree branches. We looked around, but did not see anything at first. We decided to keep walking when we saw some bushes about 20 yards ahead of us sway back and forth. We stopped again, and then we were assaulted by this horrific smell that reminded me of garbage baking in the sun. By then, the nervous feeling I had intensified. I was really getting worried about the onset of fog and fading light. The forest was misty and it was raining lightly. We were climbing a steep part of the trail and I gave it my best push to get to the end of the trail. As we were finishing the final climb, I turned and looked behind me. I'm not sure why. It was like I knew something was watching, and yet I told myself I was being silly. When I turned, I saw a head above some tree branches with the rest of the body obscured by the heavy vegetation. The head was covered in dark reddish-brown fur and was impossibly far from the ground. If this was a man, he must have been at least close to 8 feet tall. I blinked a couple of times, convinced I was seeing things. The thing I was looking at did not disappear. Instead, it looked at me curiously for a few seconds, and then moved out of my view behind a tree. I grabbed my fiance's hand, too afraid to tell him what I had seen, because I thought he might go looking for it, and then made my way back to our vehicle as fast as I could. I'm not crazy. This was not a trick of light or fog. Something very large, with the face of an ape, was looking at me. I will never forget it. The forest became unusually quiet a few minutes before the incident. It was like the crickets stopped and the birds quieted and everything went still. We attributed it to the onset of light rainfall. There was a follow-up investigation by the BFRO investigator Jeff Robinson. I spoke with the witness via telephone, and during the interview she articulated an account that was compelling as well as detailed. She confided in me that she is a doctoral candidate in neuroscience for the prestigious New England University, and has always prided herself in the capacity to be firmly grounded in reality, but this incident has shaken her view of the nature in general. She went on to tell me about her trip to Oregon and how she grew up in the region and loved hiking in the area near the coast. During a hike in the late afternoon, she and her fiancé began to hear what sounded like good-sized trees being broken at ground level. She described the sound as incredibly loud in the relatively serene surroundings of the hiking trail. She said that her initial feeling was that the sound was created by a bear, and began to urge her partner to start heading back to the trailhead as it was getting close to dusk. There was a light drizzle, and the air was starting to get a chill. She said that all the while she felt uncomfortable, as if someone was watching her. She also stated that there was a smell of sour coffee grounds or the rotten garbage in the air. As they headed down the trail, she noticed that wildlife sounds in the area all at once became silent. This was particularly curious to her as well as her fiancé, so they hastened their pace in a steep part of the trail, only to hear more very loud breaking trees, again thinking they were in the presence of a bear. At this point, she caught movement out of the corner of her right eye and looked around, where she saw from a distance about 25 feet away a very large figure. It was obscured from the chest down, peering over a large branch at her. She gaped in disbelief for about 3 seconds and grabbed her partner's hand. By the time she turned to look again, the figure was gone. Her fiancé was seemingly unaware and later reported that he did not see the subject. While the glimpse was relatively quick, she said it felt like moments because of the unusual nature of the 8-foot figure. She described the face as that of a person, but twice as big, with long, reddish-brown receding hair and light brown, human-like facial skin. She said the nose was proportionately long compared to the rest of the face, and rounded with wide nostrils. The large, dark eyes were greenish in color, with no whites visible, just irises. She said that the subject's very muscular, bulging right shoulder connected to the head of the jawbone, with no real sense of a neck at all, and that the chest was as wide as a person is tall. She described the most fascinating aspect of the incident was the complexity of the subject's expression. She detected genuine curiosity emanating from the figure's face, as if it could not help but reveal itself to her because of that curiosity. As the couple rapidly descended to the trailhead, they discussed what they had just heard and what she had just seen, and neither had any tangible explanation. The witness went on to express how this event had changed her assessment of wildlife and the outdoors and instilled a new fear of hiking and camping. I found this witness to be extremely credible. Her discussion of the event came from a scientific vantage point, and she expressed curiosity regarding this particular subject that had singled her out and the meaning of the apparent behavior. Here's a little bit of a bio of the BFRO investigator Jeff Robinson. Jeff Robinson is a territorial manager for a manufacturer's representative and a graduate engineering student. As a teenager, Jeff spent many nights in remote Georgia forest raccoon hunting. Those experiences were ripe with inexplicable events for which, as an adult, Jeff has pursued explanations in the Pacific Northwest of a study of the elusive bipedal primate that leaves tracks attributed to the taxon Anthropopithecus and Marabulus. Since those experiences, Jeff has had encounters at his home in Granite Falls, Washington. In 2008 and 2009 Washington Cascades Expedition, the 2009 Olympics Expedition, as well as a number of outings in Washington and Oregon. He currently resides in Portland, Oregon with his wife and 2 sons. Our team at Rocky Mountain Sasquatch Organization has had some unexplainable vocalizations, and we have also found a couple of very Bigfoot-like shaped footprints along the coastal trails. 2 years in a row we have found some really nice footprints, 17 inches long, and then 2015 we were woke at night by some vocalizations that went on and on for several minutes. We hiked over to Derek Wright's camp spot, to get him so we could go investigate with our night vision cameras, and he was already awake listening to the vocalizations. They woke him up too. We got the group together and started hiking into the forests looking for the source of the vocalizations, and they stopped and we never heard them again, as if whatever was making the vocalizations knew that we were there. So that was pretty awesome. And then when we found a footprint along the coastal trail on an expedition in April of 2016. We also heard several whoops and screams during that hike. And because of the Bigfoot shaped footprint, we believe there may be a connection with that footprint and what was making those vocalizations. I hope you enjoyed this Bigfoot sighting report. We love the coastal trails of Northern California and of Oregon because of the Bigfoot activity and the Bigfoot sighting reports that come out of the area and what we have experienced ourselves in those areas. Keep on watching. We're going to keep on squatching.